Nickelodeon made a movie so disturbing that they banned it after just one night. This is Crybaby Lane, the forgotten Nickelodeon horror movie that they don't want you to remember. And today, I'm watching the whole thing. People said it was lost forever, too scary for kids, even cursed. So naturally, I had to find it. If I get possessed halfway through, tell Nickelodeon that I want a Zeke the Plumber movie. Yeah, I'm trying to get that thing going. So grab your orange soda, grab your slime bucket, and maybe an exorcist? Because we're going deep in the most cursed kids film ever made. Now let's hit play before Viacom finds out. Now before we continue, let me give you an update on The Climb. If you're new and not sure what The Climb is, it's an agreement between AEW superstar Kip Sabian and myself, where if I can surpass him in YouTube subscribers, he will have dinner with me at my favorite restaurant, the Rainforest Cafe. Since launching The Climb back in December, we have doubled the amount of subscribers, but we're still pretty far from surpassing Kip. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. So together, you and I, we can beat Kip Sabian, and he will have a nice dinner with me at the Rainforest Cafe. Hashtag Mark and Kip share safari fries. Now back to the video. May have gotten too overzealous with the fog. So apparently back in the year 2000, Nickelodeon decided, hey, you know what kids love? Existential dread and decaying corpses. And thus, Crybaby Lane was born. The lost Nickelodeon movie that got banned after just one night because it was just too scary. Or probably because it was just too weird. We open up on a funeral home dude played by Frank Langella. And he acts like he just lost a bet to be in this movie.
An undertaker lives a life of intrigue, boys.
He tells this creepy story about these conjoined twins. One good and one evil. When the evil twin dies, the town is just like, let's just saw him in half and call it a day.
The farmer decided to unjoin the bodies and bury only the good son in the town cemetery. He buried the evil son in a fallow field at the end of an old dirt road called Crybaby Lane.
Yeah, that's the opening of this Nickelodeon movie. Somewhere Keenan and Kel were just like, we didn't sign up for this. Oh, here it goes. And then we meet our main character, Andrew, who's basically like Diet Harry Potter with asthma.
Sit in this stupid hobbit hole and never do anything.
We prepare the way for the return of the king.
The Lord of the Rings is fiction, Hall.
Who peed in your cornflakes?
Then we meet his brother Carl, who's just one shut up loser away from being a Reddit moderator. They hang out with their friends, they go to the graveyard. Carl, who is a complete dick, by the way.
What was his name?
Mulder. Anyway.
His first name.
Why?
What was his first name?
Oh, Bill. I don't know. You ask a lot of questions for girls.
Together, they decide to break into the graveyard. Because apparently Nickelodeon was like, trespassing, necromancy, family fun. They accidentally summoned the spirit of the evil twin.
Cut it out, Carl.
Carl, stop it.
And shocker, they accidentally summoned the ghost of the evil twin. Cue the weird stuff.
Something funny went on there last night, and I think maybe your kids might know something about it.
I want you to stay away from Carl and Andrew.
Suddenly, everybody in town is acting possessed. Like, Are You Afraid of the Dark had a $12 budget and a hangover?
My mom was right about you. You are pathetic.
People are eating worms, cows are acting demonic, and one guy stares at the camera like he knows this movie is not getting a second airing. And then at this point, Nickelodeon realized, maybe this isn't the right vibe for a lineup that also has The Amanda Show.
Yeah, I could drive all night long, never find him, maybe fall asleep behind the wheel, but what kind of message would that send? What are we really saying here?
And the ghost just moaning in a barn, whispering, like a rejected Goosebumps villain. Bro, if I'm a vengeful spirit, I'm doing more than just whispering. I'm throwing plates. I'm flipping furniture. Make it spicy. So Andrew's like, I gotta stop. And then he gets nude and these girls just throw crap at him.
The bodies got put into the wrong graves. The good son was buried out in the field, and the evil one was put in the grave where you had your seance last night.
He faces his fears, does some ghost therapy. Then Frank Langella passes out
or dies or something. And before Andrew can save the day, he gets teleported to the other grave. Not sure why the evil twin didn't just do that earlier.
What did you do to Carl? Nothing. You know, me and Carl just like to, well, play together. He's fun.
And he traps the evil twin using the power of friendship, or whatever Nickelodeon moral they tacked on at the end. So the evil ghost gets trapped again. Everybody is fine, and Nickelodeon buries this movie deeper than the evil twin's body.
If you ever tell anyone that I apologize to you, I'm gonna deny it, and then I'm gonna rip your throat out.
Yeah, because nothing says Nickelodeon happy ending like burying your evil twin's brother's body in the back of a barn.
And there you have it, Crybaby Lane, an original movie and snick, and pretty scary if you ask me.
So Nickelodeon aired this once and then deleted it from existence. And since then, it became a legend. So for years, people online thought they imagined this movie. Do you guys remember that creepy Nickelodeon movie with the twins? No, my dude, you didn't dream it. Nickelodeon just yeeted this movie off the planet. And then in 2011, somebody leaked it online, and then Nickelodeon was like, yeah, here's some iCarly reruns. So yeah, Crybaby Lane, a movie too scary for Nickelodeon, too cheap for theaters, and too confusing for life. It's got ghosts, worms, trauma, one functioning adult. Shout out to the random kid who put a VHS and copied this movie when it originally aired. Because without him, this movie would have been lost forever. So since the original airing, people online have been going nuts trying to figure this out. It was never released on home video, so people thought this movie was some weird fever dream. So the lore of this movie went rampant. People started adding on and on about how disturbing, how freaky, how gross this movie really is. So one of the big rumors about the lore of this movie is that Nickelodeon buried it from the public outcry of how shocking this film is. So Nickelodeon was like, hey, we're gonna give you a Halloween treat and we're gonna show this movie after a decade and put it on the 90s or all that at midnight on Halloween. So after a decade of this buildup of how terrifying this movie is, the reception of it was meh. I was happy to see it again after so long, and then everybody else was like, this is just a long episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? But the question on everybody's minds is, why did Nickelodeon bury this movie after just one airing? And turns out, the movie was never banned. It was just kind of forgotten about. The director himself was like, I have no idea about this ban. In fact, he was like, I just assumed they didn't show it again because they hated it. I did it, thought it failed, and just moved on. So if the movie wasn't banned for being too controversial, why did they shelve it for so long? In my opinion, it's less to do with the public saying it's too shocking for TV. The early 2000s was a transition period for Nickelodeon. They were doing less weird stuff like Angry Beavers and Rocko's Modern Life to doing more like teen-focused dramas. Alex Mack and Are You Afraid of the Dark were replaced with Caitlin's Way and the Brothers Garcia. And then we eventually got Drake and Josh, Zoe 101. Nickelodeon was no longer this wacky, insane hub for children's entertainment. It became more of just like big franchises, like SpongeBob. So with this new lineup Nickelodeon was doing, a movie like Crybaby Lane wouldn't fit with everything else. And in my opinion, that's why Crybaby Lane was forgotten by Nickelodeon for so long.
You ever notice how lost media is way cooler before we actually find it? Like we hype it up for years thinking it's some masterpiece, and then when it finally surfaces, it's just mid. We spend years hunting for things that we only half remember, only to realize that the version in our heads was the best one all along. Lost media lives best in our memory, but not in reality. Because once you find it, the magic fades and all that's left is a tape that was better in your mind.
So like the video, subscribe, and remember, if a Nickelodeon ghost starts whispering in your barn, maybe just move.